Good evening, everybody. How are we all doing? And welcome back to BRL. We are here for Season 8, Round 4 in Canada. And it is a pleasure to be back. How are we all doing? I hope you are doing marvellously because I certainly am. Well, we are here today. Canada, as I've mentioned, qualifying is just about to get underway. So we'll talk through a couple of little bits whilst people get on their out laps and get themselves ready to start putting times on the board. First of all, let's take a look at the driver's standings because obviously it's one of the most important things to have a look at. And Mr. Cookie is currently not only winning the championship, but doing quite a good job at it as well. 73 points, putting him 23 clear of second place, are Henson. And then third and fourth, Orion Lemons and Bad MX, both reserve drivers, interestingly enough, and very close between our Henson and Lemons, who are just a single point apart. The other Orion driver for the kick team in 5th, and Hunter's in P6, Joe Thomas in P7 as well. So interesting enough, a lot of reserve drivers in the top 10 there. 3 reserves in the top 10 and 2 in the top 5 is just mental, if I'm honest. So they clearly doing themselves a very good helping hand. Our Henson just kindly letting me know that it's dry all of qualifying and race. Cheers, our Henson. Big help from you there as always. Take a quick look at the constructor standings now whilst we're at it. And Racing Bulls, as we're guessing with Mr. Cookie, are doing rather well. In fact, Mr. Cookie has done all of the hard work so far and has managed to gather up 73 points for the side. So they are doing rather marvellously. And Ferrari in P2 on 62. They've got a bit of problems though because McLaren just one behind them on 60. So we've still got, you know what, somewhat of a constructors fight. Let's be honest here. Mr. Cookie's a good driver. Can he lead an entire team by himself? He's done it before. Can he do it again? I'm not too sure, but it will be certainly fun to find out, won't it? Either way, we should probably pop over and watch some racing because that is currently taking place as we speak. So let's head over there now. Oh, brilliant. So for some reason, for some wonderful reason, I can't click on the game. Great. Isn't this just brilliant? Right. Do that enough times, I might fix it. It's fixed. Oh my god, I am brilliant. I am a god. That's quite quiet. Yeah, that'll be good, right. Alright, so first time on the board. We were literally just watching it there in the background as he's come across. Lil Majin. I'm going to say that is how that is pronounced. Just come across the line 110.4 to set the fastest time so far. Lap data and full track map as well. Bad MX going there and setting a 109.383 as well. We got Ferrari through next. Mr. Cookie going 109.3, ever so slightly faster, only just though. Ferrari diving into the pit lane. Kick driver through next. I'm guessing Orion through now. Let's see how he gets on. He's invalidated, unfortunately, for him. That will be the Williams driver there. Also, you might notice this here in my keyboard a little bit more, and it's because I've learned how to jump from person to person using just my keyboard. Personally, I think it's absolutely fantastic. So I know that Juiced is in next, and I know that he's in 12th place, and oh, it's just changed. Literally just as I did that, but he's coming across the line now. This should really help speed up, and I'm hoping make everything look a bit more sophisticated, you know. So Juice there in P5. 2 McLarens through next, Amleth and our Henson. Amleth through first, diving straight into the pit lane, and our Henson through next. Let's see how he gets along. He is going to the line with a very slow time. In fact, it's going to be a 117.9. So that would have been an outlap. That was certainly not a lap to remember. I can't see that being particularly real for him. Interesting enough, we've got the kick driver through now. He is going to the line. He's got a pretty decent time. He's got a fairly solid out of sector 2. It's going to be a 1:11 though in the end. It's going to put him P6 on the grid, which isn't exactly ideal, I'll be honest. But you know, it's what you got to do. It's what you got to do. So, don't think we've got anybody out on out laps, unless our Henson, by any chance, is going for a lap. By the looks of it, he is. So, keep on board with our Henson. Having to just get through there. Mercedes pulling over for him very nicely indeed. It's things we love to see. It's always frustrating when somebody just stays out in front of you and doesn't do anything. He is coming through to set a time rather than diving into the pit lane. 107, 108, 109. Is it going to be all just shy of the 109s? It's a 110, basically dead. That puts him P3 on the grid so far. Blackbone there, who was on a hot lap, has invalidated said hot lap and is just pulling over to allow the Haas to go through. I'm guessing Bad MX. No, it's not. It is the other. It is Jens Jordal, who I'm just going to call Jens for this because, quite frankly, I'm worried to say that every time because I'm just going to get it so wrong. Well, so far, what have we seen? A lack of laps so far. We've only got 8 of 14 drivers here today that have set laps, of which 2 are over 2 seconds off the pace. So I'm guessing they aren't particularly polished laps. So it'd be nice to see a few more times on the board. Something I am looking forward to, though, is Mr. Cookie and Bad MX. That's an interesting fight we got on our hands, isn't it just? It certainly is. 1/100th of a second between them, and that is it. That is certainly what you'd use the word close. Very, very close to describe. Catet will be the next man through, so we'll keep on board with him and we can jump back to the Haas in a moment's time. Let's see, over the line goes the Ferrari car. It is going to be into the 110s. It's a 110.2, puts in P4 in between our Henson and Majin. Very nicely done from that driver. I think just a cold pillow through next indeed, but with an invalidated time, it isn't going to mean anything. Who's through next? Haas is through next. Back to Jens. See how he's invalidated since we missed him. Not good for him whatsoever. Blackbone through next. Let's see what he does. Then Bad MX comes through. So that's somebody else we want to keep our eyes out for. Goes P4, Blackbone. Bad MX. Is he going to go on pulse? By some margin as well. He's dipped into the 108s. 108.957. Goes the Haas driver very comfortably into pole position. We've got 9 minutes of this qualifying session to go, so there's still lots of time for things to change. And look at how close Orion has gotten here, just over that 100th, nearly 200ths of a second behind. So Mr. Cookie has got a lot to do if he wants to keep up with these two. I mean, him and Bad MX were looking pretty similar pace at the first time round, so you'd like to think they're going to be pretty similar pace the second time round, but that would involve Mr. Cookie actually getting himself out of the pit lane, which by the looks of it isn't something that he's particularly planning on doing. Jens is going for the lap, and oh, a big bump there right at the very end, and I think that might have completely sacrificed his lap. He did dip into the Wall of Champions. It hasn't quite taken him out completely, but it does put him P11 there, ever so slightly slower than the kick driver in front. Unfortunately for him, it's not looking like a particularly good qualifying session. Speaking of kick drivers, I believe that is him coming to the start-finish straight to start his lap. We probably should talk through what this lap consists of. The first 2 corners, notably for Sebastian Vettel messing up and Jenson Button taking the lead in 2011. This chicane as well, bound to somebody to hit the grass over there. That left wall there, so many people have gone into over the years. This corner, you can really take a lot out of it because it opens the door up for this smaller DRS straight heading through sector 2. Then we go into another chicane. This is really a sort of chicane city, this track. There is far too many of them, in my opinion, but it certainly does make for some entertaining overtakes. Plus this hairpin as well, because if you can get a good exit out of that chicane that we just went past, you can get a good move down the hairpin, and also you can hold back slightly because the DRS activation zone is just on the outside there for this DRS straight before we go down to the Water Champions, the final chicane of the lap. Notorious for sending people into that wall on the right hand side. He's kept it out that wall, and he is going to go to the line with a 1:10.8 and put himself P11. So that's the lap that you've got to keep your eyes out for. Interestingly enough, thought you should probably notice this, Orion and Mr. Cookie both on out laps. Mr. Cookie in particular actually just about to start a lap. We're actually though going to skip ahead to our Henson, who's just about to finish a lap. He's decided to stay with it, even though being 0.4 of a second slower through sector 2, so I'm guessing he's not going to improve on his time. No, it's a 1:12.344. Has he got enough energy to go for another lap? No, he hasn't, and he's slowed down massively. Interesting call from our Henson there to not dive into the pit lane, switch a set of tyres, and go for it, but that's what he's elected to do, and at that point, you know, can't really stop him from doing so, I'm afraid. Right, well, we may as well jump back to Mr. Cookie, who is a 10th up through the second sector. By the looks of it, though, it's not going to be anywhere near enough to put himself on pole position, but hopefully for him, it will be enough to start closing the gap down. Mr. Cookie onto the back straight, DRS wide open as it seems, and now through the Wall of Champions. It's pretty nicely done, and across the line he goes. He's gonna get it. Whoa, he's improved massively through the third sector there. It's a 1:08.792, and it puts him comfortably just shy of a quarter of a tenth, excuse me, there, faster than Bad MX, who, speaking of, has just started a lap here. We're actually going to focus though on Orion, who through sector 2 is actually a tenth of a second slower. Unfortunately for Orion, he's going to have a lot to improve on down this back straight. The hairpin as well, massive amount of opportunity to you know, collect some time, you know, especially if you made a mistake on it on your first couple of laps. Either way, he's going to come across the line now. It's going to be a 1:08.8. Oh, that puts him fairly close to Mr. Cookie's time. Basically splits him and Bad MX apart nicely. Speaking of, Bad MX unfortunately invalidating his lap, so he's only going to have one more opportunity. Certainly isn't going to get 2 out of 4 minutes, is he? One more opportunity to try and put himself on pole position, or at least get himself close, because these three drivers are in a total league of their own as it seems. Because Catet 0.8 of a second, Blackbone 1.1, our Henson 1.2, Juiced 1.6. I mean, our slowest driver at the moment, Jens, 2.7 seconds off of the pace of Mr. Cookie. And in all fairness, if it was Catet to Jens, that would be what I'd, you know, expect as a split. You know, 2 seconds is about right, you know, from first to last place. It's just the fact that Mr. Cookie, Orion and Bad MX are just so much quicker than everybody else at the moment. No one can compete with them, as we're sort of learning here on the fly. Blackbone diving into the pit lane, his lap well and truly completed. Alpine though, just about to set his first lap of the day. It's not going to be particularly fast, I'm afraid. It's going to be a 1:12, putting him a second slower than Jens, and 3.7 seconds slower than the leader of the race. Or race of qualifying, my apologies. Hopefully that was another warm-up. Yeah, it was, because he's absolutely going for it this lap. Though not particularly much faster in Sector 1, unfortunately for him. I think the lack of ERS might get to him by the time we get down to Sector 3. only less than 3 minutes remaining now. This is where stuff starts to get interesting. Bad MX. Have a look at this. He's out on his out lap. The first of the front three runners to set off. We got 2 minutes and 20 seconds now. Orion are leaving the pit lane now as well, and I imagine Mr. Cookie must be leaving soon. He can't leave it much later than this. It's 2 minutes as it stands. Williams out. There he is, coming out the pit lane. So, front three drivers all onto their outlaps. Pretty much everybody now in the top six getting themselves out. Well, yes, everyone in the top six. Only 3 people in the pit lane as it stands, all of which are coming out now. Interestingly, Amaleth still hasn't set a time, deciding to go for the last one. Oh, cool. Even more bold, he was the last person out the pit lane. Well, this is Bad MX's final chance to go for a lap. It's 9,000ths of a second slower through his Sector 1 than he's seen so far this weekend. Certainly not backing down from any moves in Sector 2. Really making the most of that curb on chicane entry there. And running down towards the hairpin. Sector 2 completed. Fastest Sector 2 as it stands. Half a tenth faster than his time. Which puts him nearly in contention with Orion. Unfortunately, no, I don't think it's going to put him in contention of pole position unless he absolutely maximises this back straight. Really gets the most out of it. What can he do with this time? He's going to come across the line. It's going to be a 1:08.8, which puts him P2. Only just P2. Orion is going to have a phenomenal chance to take this back once again. Through Sector 2, it was 0.044 seconds faster, which would put him comfortably back into P2 again. What it's not going to do is comfortably give him pole position. He's got a lot more to gain through Sector 3 if he wants that opportunity. We've got 14 seconds on the clock now, so anybody that's on a lap, this is their final one. No one else is going to come across in that time. Is the kick driver going to come across? He is, and it's not going to be pole position for him either. Bad MX, he stops. He's not going to try and go for another one run straight after, which means Mr. Cookie is nearly guaranteed pole position. Cadet has come across the line. He's currently P4 and comfortably P4 at that matter. Blackbone across the line as well. No issues for him. Henson, he's the man through next. Let's see how he does. He's going to come across the line. Is he going to be able to improve? He puts himself P5. Minimal improvements for him, but improvements never the very less. Majin through, I believe it is the next driver through. Interestingly, I want to know, where is Mr. Oh, he's come across the line already. He's beaten me to it. It's a 1:08.653. It's a comfortable improvement for pole position, and I doubt anybody else is going to get an eye in. No, they're not. That is the grid set. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cookie, your pole sitter by a 10th and a half, or just about a 10th and a half. Alrighty, well, join us back in just a moment's time whilst we get ready for the race. Right, you join us back here as we are about to get ready for the race. Everyone is grid ordered and basically waiting to go. I've got myself a drink, so I am ready to get a rumbling as well. Just reading the chat there, Mr. Cookie could have got a better time, but he actually took the last few corners carefully because he knew that he had qualifying wrapped up already. That certainly must be a nice feeling, mustn't it? To be so confident in the fact that you're safe, you can just take the last few corners nice and carefully as to not totally bugger them up. Either way, we should be getting going any moment now. I must have literally switched it over as we loaded in. Pretty much I saw we were here. So I thought, oh, we'll get ready to go. One light has decided to not activate. There they all are activated. 5 lights and we are out. Mr. Cookie gets off to a pretty solid start and gets himself comfortably into the lead of the race. Bad MX is going to try and go for a move down the inside. Big collision between the two of them. They come on and, oh, it's a terrible re-entry from Bad MX. That sends Catet flying, and I can only imagine that's going to get him some serious penalties. Orion with a big penalty as well. 10-second time penalty for cutting the corner, and it's a huge mistake from two drivers that were comfortably in the opportunity to gain a race win. Bad MX whilst on track and is safe in P4 at the moment, looking to make the move on our Henson for P3. Can he get it done? No, not quite. Our Henson defending nicely there through that chicane, and by the looks of it, he's going to open the door for the Mercedes to try and have a little look around the outside. Haas defends nicely, cuts corner. Mercedes goes for the switchback, keeps his nose in, keeps his wheels pretty much in line as well, but doesn't quite make it on the exit. But speaking of exit, we got a Mercedes and a Red Bull on a drag race down the back straight to see if either of the two of them can make a move. They're still side by side now, heading into the Wall of Champions. Mercedes got the inside line, Red Bull's got the second, but it's Mercedes that's able to make the most of it in the end and gets himself up into P7. By the looks of it, just the Cole Pillow as well getting overtaken by Amaleth. Amaleth up into P8 now, doing very, very well indeed, even with the lack of qualifying. By the sounds of it and by what I can deduce, he did indeed have a penalty for it, hence why he didn't set any times, but he did come out to lock in his Parc Ferme. And it is very, very close up and down the grid order, I've got to say. It has been extremely hectic, to say the very least. But up in the front, Mr. Cookie keeping it pretty clean. No major issues for him. Orion, may I say, 20 seconds of time penalties now. He picked up another time penalty for corner cutting and gaining a position. So I can safely deduce that he is he's out of the chances of winning this race. 20 seconds usually is enough to do that. This fight here between our Henson and Juiced, I can only see getting ramped up once again. The two drivers very close to one another, heading around the long right. McLaren keeping it nice and tidy though. That's the important thing for him. He's just got to not make any mistakes. It can be challenging to make an overtake if a driver here doesn't take a line wrong or something doesn't quite go right for him. That's the sort of thing that gives you the opportunity to make an overtake here. If you don't get that opportunity, you really do have to find something. If you're not going for a move down in sector 3, that's really your only opportunity for a move in this race, unless a mistake is made. There we go. Speaking of Orion letting the position go, Bad MX, I can only imagine, has quite comfortably taken that position with no issues whatsoever. Our Henson will get a DRS this time around. Orion in front, 0.6 of a second. Could be in a little bit of trouble here. Our Henson could certainly close that gap by some degree or another. We're going on to lap 4 of 35 now. And all is well. Look at that. The Red Bull just behind has made the move. Blackbone's getting it down the inside of Hunters, but Hunters has got the inside line for the right-hander, and I think he might just make it work. Blackbone, with the better exit, though, has managed to swoop it around the outside and get himself into P6. Hunter relegated to P7 after that move, and the McLaren as well. Looking to make a move, but look at this. Juice has gone for it. At the unlikeliest of places, clearly really working the brakes well there and got himself tucked in nicely and got him up to 4th place. That means he can now try and close in on Orion, which in turn would allow him to try and close in on Bad MX, maybe get himself into that fight a little bit, but I can only imagine he'd be dragging R. Henson along with him. I think we're definitely going to see a very split grid, but drag race coming up right now. These two, just Colpillo and Aramaneth. The Williams on the right hand side has managed to tuck himself in front. Very nicely done from that driver indeed. The Ferrari as well getting a move done. Cadet in P10. Mr. Cookie making very significant progress. He finds himself 4 seconds in the lead of the race and doing rather marvellously, I've got to say. Just keeping himself very comfortably at bay, not forcing Bad MX into hunting him down, not forcing him into using up his own tyres. He is just taking it nice and easy as of right now, which I can only rate him for in the position he's in. 5 laps into the race, I can't say you can't complain, can you, in the slightest. Just looking at just a cold pillow that. And was right on the back of Hunters, but then all of a sudden had Aramaneth right up his gearbox, giving him a bit of grief. Luckily, luckily for him, the Williams has managed to keep the McLaren at bay and could possibly look for a move here at the Mercedes, but unfortunately that gap has just grown a little bit to the point where it's not going to seem feasible to get anything done. Our Henson so excruciatingly close to the back of Juice, but can't quite get a move made as it stands. He's not going to be able to go for a move into 1, unfortunately, nor 2. Very open exit from the Mercedes, really not keeping his car tucked in at all. I thought the McLaren possibly were going to try and go for a move to capitalise on that, but he hasn't. He's elected to keep it pretty calm. Very controlled from the McLaren as standard, but he is going to go for a move now around the outside, gets himself in front before he hits the brakes. No, the Mercedes has gone into the back of him, clips the back and sends the McLaren round. The McLaren holds it pretty nicely, but it's lost him 2 places in the process. I don't know who was at fault there. I don't think it was a brake check. And I think the Mercedes agrees, because he is in turn let him through, and all hell has broken loose because of that. All the Mercedes trying to sort themselves around. Hunters goes in front of Juice. Just a gold pillar has managed to capitalise immensely out of that, as there's such a multitude of cars here. It's like lap 1 all over again, and I can't really keep up of what to keep up on because everyone is everywhere, and it's just like there's going to be so many moves into turn 1. It's only what you expect. Here we go, McLaren and Mercedes back once again. Hunters deep into the inside, goes too deep, brakes too late, gets himself on the grass. No, he hasn't. Yeah, it is Hunters. Juice has managed to re-overtake, and I think pretty much everybody has, because he's all the way down in P12 now. Massive mistake from the Mercedes there. Got a little too cocky, and it really hasn't paid out for him at all. And it is such a feisty midfield fight at the moment. This is some of the best racing I've seen all season. It's almost a shame that it's not for the lead of the race. It's only for P5 of all things. Oh, P4 actually. Blackbones is still really considered in on this fight. And there's not many of these guys that haven't picked up penalties so far. We should probably quickly check that. 3 seconds all aboard for the drivers of concern. Williams taking a different line there in comparison to everybody else. Everybody else keeping it quite open. Williams tucking it in a little bit more. Maybe has a little bit more downforce set up, so trying to maximize that corner, unlike how the other drivers can't do quite so much, just to avoid being in any stress down the back straight. And if that was the case, it certainly works for him. And I think we've got 2 moves making McLaren gets himself through nicely. I don't think the Ferrari's been able to try and make the progression on the McLaren. No, he hasn't. Aramlev defending pretty well. Catet is right on his gearbox, so that is not dangerous, but it is certainly intimidating, especially for Aramlev. I wouldn't want to be Aramlev right now. And look at that, Blackbone keeping himself in front of Juice. Juice did have a little look there down the inside. Blackbone managed to hold it around the outside and then obviously had the inside for the right-hander, so held on to the position nicely and hunting down our Henson in the process. Blackbone, one of the few people without penalties, and I think one of the people under threat at the moment, actually has to take evasive action, because if he was going to go, he was going to go into the back of the McLaren, but he had the Mercedes to the right of him. He had nowhere to go. He was sandwiched in, and he's lost 2 places. Well, 3 places actually. 1 to the Mercedes, to the Williams in front, and Aramlev as well. Slots back in P8 from P6. And it is a bad day for a lot of these drivers, making crucial mistakes. Williams with a phenomenal exit out of the Wall of Champions. He's going to be able to blast past the McLaren. So's Aramlev. So the 2 McLarens making great progress. Now P4, P6. Catet has managed to get himself down the inside of the Red Bull, who makes a snap bit of oversteer. That's going to force him to lose multitude of places. Catet gets through. Can the Haas get through? Not quite. I think the Red Bull has just about held him out. Yes, he has. And oh my dear lord, it's like it's never ending, this massacre of overtakes and assaults on my voice. My goodness. If there's a situation to watch, it is this one. It has entertained me for a good sort of 6-7 laps now, and I can't see it giving up anytime soon. Everybody seems to be making mistakes. Everybody seems to be getting good out of certain corners, getting terrible out of others, and a Ferrari Catet going for the double overtake at the hairpin, and that's going to cause a crucial mistake, allowing Juice to possibly get a better exit, and all of a sudden he's gone from having an amazing exit to a shocking one. Juice there having now, with DRS, double dose of slipstream, but getting boxed in, forces an abortion on that overtake, has to go over the bumps, and that's going to lose him positions as well. And Hunters, his teammate, gets a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, to which he DNFs. So Hunters out of the race. Only 1 Mercedes left. 13 drivers. Our first DNF of the day comes lap 10 of 35. Aramlev with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. I don't think that means we haven't lost another person who was penalty free. I believe he did have penalties before. Let me just check. Yep, 6 seconds. Exactly what I thought. Big wins for Aramlev and just Colpillo up 8 and 6 respectively. Most other people down 1 or 2 positions, but it's not been particularly wild for up and downs. You know, we've seen probably the most up and downs sort of in this midfield fight. You know, some people might be losing 3 places here and there. It's not been absolutely horrendous. And look, it's still quite a busy mid-pack, isn't it? It goes from our Henson all the way back to Juice. That's P4 to P11, all scrapping out basically for P4. All these drivers have got, fair enough, an equal share of getting these positions, because they have been up and down, rotating consistently. And because they're all in the DRS train as well, it does mean that when we see an overtake, it's often multiple drivers all at the same time going for the same overtake or the same style of overtake, and then people switch to the other side and go for switchbacks and switchbacks on switchbacks, and it gets all very confusing very quickly. But it certainly makes for some interesting racing. The Ferrari, Catet, right on the back of Aramlev, certainly putting on the most pressure of any driver in this pack. Could he possibly open a door? This is the issue though. If Catet puts on a bit too much pressure, has to back off slightly, all of a sudden Blackbone is there to take that position. And I think Blackbone is in a much more threatening position than the Ferrari was a moment ago. And the McLaren is going to try and go for a move on just a Colpillo. Gets it done. Just a Colpillo with a decent exit. Could possibly sneak it up the inside here with a much better exit than McLaren. Yes, he does. That forces them into a drag race. They are perfectly side by side as it stands. Just a Colpillo in front at the moment. And Catet storming through into the lead of the pack, and oh my goodness, Blackbone as well getting massive benefits out of that. Just a Colpillo not doing terribly out of it, is currently P8 Majin into the pit lane as well. So everybody sort of shifting about there, and sort of just Carpillo getting himself roughly in an okay position, and there's now such a big gap between himself and Aramenev that he could be out of contention of some of these front running positions, and he's been a massive player in all of them so far. That could have been a crucial overtake in the outcome of today's race. Bad MX with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, only leaving 3 drivers now totally penaltyless. So certainly track limits getting to the better of quite a lot of people here today, and it's certainly caused a little bit more chaos, I think. Big move there from the Red Bull down the inside at the hairpin. Can he get the acceleration on the Ferrari? Just about. He will also get a nice dose of DRS from the McLaren in front, which should, diffuse the attack from the Ferrari just a little bit, but the Ferrari storms back through anyway, just getting in and tucked back onto the racing line before the Wall of Champions. Both of them a significantly better exit than the McLaren in front. Henson under big threat for a double overtake. Can the Red Bull get through? It's going to be super tight. McLaren's got the inside line for the long right-hander and for the next right-hander as well, so he should probably get himself comfortably in. Just a Carpillo retiring from the session in the pit lane as well, so the Williams driver has thrown the hat in. He is done. Leaving only 12 drivers remaining. Henson defended that nicely as well, held P5 for now. Has obviously lost 1 position. Catet, the Ferrari driver, has made it up to P4, and all of a sudden a fight which was P4 to 11 now only stands at 4 to 7. Oh, how it is split so drastically, so quickly. Blackbone there, huge mistake from Blackbone. Sorry, I didn't even spot that there. Massive mistake. Puts him now behind Juiced. Got himself on the wrong side of the track, going about 2 miles an hour at one point. So something definitely went absolutely catastrophically wrong for him, which now means only 2 drivers are penaltyless. Blackbone and Parzival. Parzival? Yeah, Parzival. In P9. So next to each other, actually. Blackbone going for the move on the Mercedes, down in the Wall of Champions, gets it done very nicely, and builds up a significant gap between them, nearly a second already now as they cross the line. It's brilliant stuff from the Red Bull, getting himself away comfortably. And Parzival with a 3-second time penalty, meaning Blackbone now is the only driver without any penalties on the game. That is, whether some other people will be taking some penalties after, I can only imagine will be the case, because it has just been that hectic. Only 3 drivers remain in this midfield scrap of the century. Drivers up at the front, so distant from one another. Mr. Cookie still currently in the lead at the moment for the RB team, but he has got Bad MX starting to creep up on him. It's now only a second and a half between those two. Orion in P3 has got 5.7 to the cars in front and 5.3 to the cars behind. So he is totally in a league of his own. The car behind being Catet in question. Catet, Henson and Aramenev, obviously the 3 drivers in a good fight. Orion into the pit lane, so see how he gets along in here. What's he going from? He's taking his penalty on the medium wall tyres and switching to the hard, so he should be coming out soon, I can imagine. Try and get himself out before the other kit car comes in. He has managed to do so, but it was actually surprisingly tight. I don't think the Kick Sauber kart would have been particularly expecting it to have been quite as tight as it was, considering just how far apart they were before that very moment in time. Aramenev now as well, 2.2 to Henson, who's just spun coming out of the chicane. I was about to say Aramenev having big problems keeping up with his teammate, and now all of a sudden he finds himself 3 places in front of his teammate. Oh, how the tables have turned for them. McLaren drivers swapping round, and Henson put in a really compromising position where he's now really not in anybody's race whatsoever. He's in his own race, and that is about it. Mr. Cookie coming in to the pit lane has gotten out, and has gotten out before Bad MX, though, I do believe both of them took penalties because it took quite a while for both of them to do anything. But Mr. Cookie is indeed out, and it is going to be pretty close between the two of them. But the Haas has gotten stuck behind Blackbone. Is Blackbone going to put up without a fight? No, he is not. Blackbone is going for it, and that is probably going to slow Bad MX down. Even if Blackbone is the same pace as Mr. Cookie, for example, having to try and overtake somebody takes a bit of time. But there we go, he gets through, and he's lost a good second from that. He's put himself out of DRS because of it, unfortunately, for the Hash driver. So Mr. Cookie and Bad MX both opting for the hard tyres. Should probably check to see how people are getting along and what tyres they are on, because it's something we haven't really paid all that much attention to, if I'm honest. Only one driver yet to pit, that's Blackbone, currently P3 on those 15-lap-old hard tyres. Most people went for the mediums and have pitted by now, all onto hards, but Juice and Henson have both started on the hards and pit for the mediums. This is probably undoubtedly our closest and most interesting fight as it stands, and the Red Bull is going to go for the move around the outside, gets it done very nicely into Wall of Champions. And just behind them as well, look at this, the Haas getting through. Nicely done from Jens. Amalef demoted to P7, and with Orion right behind him, who is going to be able to tuck it to the left-hand side. Gets very well on the brakes, times that to perfection. And Orion finds himself in P7. Amalef has to take a hit from that. Everybody but now has a penalty as well. So it is, I'm not going to say it's totally level on all accounts, because there's some drivers with 3 seconds of penalties. There's other drivers with 19 seconds of penalties. So it's not exactly even Stevens, but big wins at the moment for Mr. Cookie, Blackbone, and Parzival, all on 3 seconds. You know, they're doing a good job, you know, managing the amount of penalties that they are conjuring up, to say the very least. Back onto the main back straight we go. I say it's the main straight because it's one big straight split by a chicane. Obviously they are two straights, but this one primarily the big overtaking straight, as we've just seen, and as we can see here as well. Orion has gotten past at the exact same place. Oh, just sorry, I clipped my back there really nicely. Oh, that was really good. Well, now 18 of 35, so we're halfway through. But, you know, probably made the subject a bit more interesting, a bit more, you know, race orientated. And look at this, a Juice right on the back of Amalef. This is a good fight, as it seems. Mr. Cookie, 3 second time penalty, multiple warnings. Now, this is something Cookie doesn't want to keep doing, because he's currently got a 3 second time penalty advantage to Bad MX, who, if I'm correct in remembering what happened right at the very start of the race, Bad MX is probably likely to get a penalty as well. So obviously Cookie doesn't want to lose out on all of that penalty opportunity. And look at that, Juice gaining the position, losing it nearly immediately. The McLaren taking it back there. Araneth doing very well to retake that position. Interesting enough, look at this. Araneth, Juice, Henson, they were right up in sort of top 4, top 5 territory. And now down to P8, P9, P10. How this race just keeps changing minute by minute is just honestly remarkable, to say the very least. But it has been such an interesting race, sort of as it stands, because no one's really come out as like a shining star of total quality and control. Obviously, Mr. Cookie's been leading the race the entire time, but he pulled away to begin with, but has lost that edge, that significant sort of strategic edge. Pretty much all of it. You know, he's got 1.4. All Bad MX needs to do is close down half a second, and he's within DRS, and likelihood is he'll get a pass. You know, he had 4 seconds at one point, which is, I'd say, certainly more of an advantage that you'd much rather than 1.4, as it is currently. Here we go. Can the Red Bull get a move done? No, he cannot. Can Juice get a move done? Juice is looking pretty good for a move here, and I think he is going to go for it. Down the inside, gets it done. Nice stuff. And oh, a big hit on the wall there by Amralev. Don't know whether that would have done any damage or not, because he hit it very side on. So I'm not 100% sure. Probably not. He probably wouldn't have picked up any major or significant damage from that. But nevertheless, it certainly took a hit to the lap time. Which in a circumstance when you're fighting somebody is something you don't really want to see. We'll jump back up to our top 4 fight. Our fight for P4. Gatet and Majid. This battle has been significantly calmer than any fight we've seen before this, I've got to say. It has been a lot more chilled, a lot more peaceful. No one has tried to murder anybody just yet. I think the Red Bull's just holding off a little bit. He doesn't really want... Blackbone, sorry. May as well focus on him. He's finally elected to come in for a set of mediums, unsurprisingly. Lap 21 of 35, so still got a way to go in this race, really. 14 laps. Still got plenty of time for stuff to change, but you know, we're now in the position where no one is in DRS. I feel like we had a little bit too much all at once, if I'm being honest. I loved it, loved that close quarters racing right at the beginning there, but all of a sudden now it's died. It's died quite a painful death and all, because yeah, no. Oh, there is some DRS actually. Just down here, Blackbone is still within DRS of Amralev. Has yet to do much with it. And oh, just as I say that, Amralev hits the wall in Sector 2, as you saw there from that lovely helicopter shot, which gave us a nice, clear quality photograph of it. And yeah, that is going to demote to him only one place, actually. His teammate is now pretty close to him. And Henson will be thinking, oh God, what's my teammate doing here? He was up the road not that long ago. It'll be most upsetting to say the least, but it could allow maybe for a little, I was going to say a little fight, but Amralev came into the pits, didn't he? Of course he did. Of course he came into the pit lane, because, you know, what else was he going to do? Of course he was going to come in and pit. This is interesting. This is close racing and all. Quarter of a second, I think that got down to it. Its lowest point. Well, so you get the DRS down this straight, but it's just not quite long enough for the DRS to make a big enough effect, so to seem. The kit car isn't going to be able to make much out of that. Juiced and Jens also fighting. Juiced got a move not a moment ago, and I think Jens has managed to sneak it back, but is he going to be able to hold it through this straight? I'm not 100% sure. As Orin also going for the move, and Ilmajin has to hold back for now. How's this depicting? By the looks of it, Jens comfortably holding position. Much better corner though from the Mercedes, but not able to make much out of it down the main straight. That's because he's lacking DRS, and the car in front, Jens, has gotten it off of him. I know that makes absolutely no sense. There's only one detection point. So, yeah, that's why. Ooh, right, nevertheless. Ooh! Ooh, that's within a second now. That is, for the first time, within a second. And he's just got to put a purple Sector 2 in. Well, no wonder it's only within a second now. He's just got to put the first virtual safety car. Virtual safety car is out. Race has been neutralised. Mr. Cookie dives in for a fresh set of rubber. Picks up a drive-through penalty for it for speeding under the virtual safety car. Mr. Cookie, catastrophic mistake from the man who's been doing so very well, makes just such a simple minor error, and that is going to cost him so very dearly, because he's going to have to come back in. Likelihood is that's going to lose him obviously the place to ban MX, no doubt about it. Is it going to lose him the position to Cadet? Quite possibly, yeah, probably. They're too close to each other for it to not. Thing is, though, obviously, he has now got much better tyres, and I imagine he'll be absolutely fuming with himself at that. Amlev picks up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the pit lane as well, and it is just an array of penalties on my screen right now. Only benefit for Mr. Cookie is the only benefit I can think of is the fact that it'll get that 3 seconds of sort of grace periods to bad MX, but other than that, he's not going to get any to Cadet. He'll get some to Orion and Jens, but Amalev out of the race in the pit lane. He retires from the race, leaving us just 11 drivers now. Mr. Cookie, I'm guessing, is going to dive in now. Yep, dive straight back in the pit lane for the second time. In he comes. Bad MX takes another 3 second time penalty for multiple warnings. Big mistake there for Bad MX, but he's going to get through comfortably, and so does Cadet and Orion. Absolutely storming through. I think Mr. Cookie is going to lose even more positions. Jens and Blackburn probably going to get past as well, I can only imagine. No, they're not. Mr. Cookie comes out P4 now. He has got 10 laps to try and hunt down as much as he can. It's going to be a 5 second hunt, and he might just pick up P2 if he's lucky. He's got a 6 second penalty, which means he's got a 6 second advantage on Bad MX and a 4 second advantage on Orion, but he has to overtake Cadet if he wants that position. Question is, has he got a 6 second gap to leader? That's what I want. Gap to leader. He hasn't got 6 seconds on Bad MX. He's got nearly 10. So he's really got to claw that down if he wants that position off of Bad MX once again. Obviously, I can only see there being penalties dished out after this race. I can only go based off of what I can see that the game's given me penalties on. This is all I care about. I don't care about penalties that are given after the race, because that's not my problem, quite frankly. So, in fact, actually, no, I'm just going to leave penalties up because it's quite a confusing mess, if I'm being frankly honest with you. Orion is very close now to Cadet. This could certainly be a very interesting fight, I've got to say. I'm looking forward to this one unfolding with DRS straight. This should allow the kit kick car to close that gap down to a marginal size, possibly go for a move into the hairpin. Big lock up there for the Ferrari, and unfortunately for him, unfortunately for Orion, hasn't managed to get anything out of it. But now with DRS open, he'll be able to storm through, and he hasn't. It's a little bit sidewaysy fighting from from Cadet there. I'm not 100% sure to what degree that was weaving, but Mr. Cookie has just gone and set the fastest lap thus far, and has closed that 4 second time gap down to 2.3 seconds. Really, he could benefit from the Ferrari and kick fighting. Of course, it's going to slow those two down. If he could get through cleanly, he could bring the fight to Bad MX still. He could still do it. It's surprising to think of. Juice has just left the session as well. He is still racing. I'm guessing that's a network. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh, that's not good. That's not good. No. No. I just got booted by EA. Yes, so did I. Right, come on then. Cannot connect to the F124 game services. Mate, I'm streaming. I'm online. No, don't let this be how it finishes. I swear, have EA servers just killed themselves? I think EA has just died. Come on. Come on. Right, I am going to try and solve this. I will be back. Oh, I'm back online. Oh, okay, maybe not then. I'm back. I'm so back, except. So's Blackbone, so's KT. All of us have been booted. So, isn't that amazing? Oh, for Christ's sake. Right. We're going back in. We're coming back. This isn't good. This is so EA. This is so brilliantly EA. Yep, Juice has joined. KT has joined. I've joined. Blackbone in the pit lane. Half the grid is AIs. Oh my goodness. Right, okay, so whilst I've been away, Mr. Cookie has found himself in P2 and is 7 seconds off of Bad MX. That's changed. Mr. Cookie also now has 9 seconds of time penalties, which means that going under sub 6 seconds isn't going to get him the win. He has to now go under a sub 3 seconds to Bad MX. Blackbone rejoining that. I think pretty much everybody else has gotten back in. Yes, I think so. So Orion and Mr. Cookie must have been fighting. Katet, as you can tell, ghosted because he's now 6 seconds off of that. Majin as well. Juice. Good fight has formulated from it though. We got a few cars having a good old scrap. That stuff we love to see. McLaren leading the front runners are Henson. He was the man that did all of God's work and re-invited everybody. Good guy. Oh, Henson, you're an absolute hero, mate. Majin getting the overtake, getting a bit of oversteer on the exit as well. Getting actually a really nice move. I think Juice is going to go for it as well. Tucks it on the inside. Swoops in there. I thought he was nearly going to run himself off the track. But he's just about managed to keep himself alive. And Blackbone as well, siphoning through. So Henson and losing quite a few positions, actually. He is racing still. He isn't inviting people anymore, but... DRS Wolf there getting past Parzival, who coincidentally is indeed in the pit lane, and I believe is now, just being overtaken. He is unfortunately getting lapped on lap 31 to 35, so we haven't got very long whatsoever. 5 laps pretty much to dictate the outcomes of this race. 18 seconds of penalties currently for Majin. Got 4 drivers in double digits in penalties. 3 drivers on 9 seconds. 3 drivers on 6 seconds, and a single driver on 3 seconds of penalties, and that is Blackbone, of all people, keeping it clean. And just as I'm talking about Blackbone, actually, he's going for a move that I had no idea he was going for. This is why I can't sit on critique hours, because you just don't know he was going for a move there. Wonderful. Majin with his 3-second time penalty puts him up to 21 seconds of penalties. It's not looking good for him, is it? I can see him pretty much falling. He's going to lose a place because then CRS Wolf is 34 seconds back from 18 seconds back. Henson. So it's such just a wide and varied pace on this grid. It's quite remarkable, if I'm honest. Juice nearly was able to go for a move there, but actually had to back out of it right at the very end. Mr. Cookie has gained by a second. It's now 5 seconds to get between him and MX, but don't think it's gaining at quite the rate it needs to for Mr. Cookie to win the race here. And Juice getting past Blackbone down the main straight towards Water Champs, but he got through comfortably, and will now have the benefit of DRS down this straight to pull away slightly, which is very nice of the game. So terribly sorry if you were watching whilst I got lovely, whilst myself and half the grid got nicely disconnected from the EA servers, but it's all back now, just in time to watch the last couple of laps. This is currently the best fight we've got at the moment. It's the only two drivers that are within DRS of one another. So we may as well keep on having a watch at them. Although, interestingly enough, Mr. Cookie now just 3.5 seconds behind Bad MX. So clearly got a much stronger pace than Bad MX, because he's caught up massively over the course of sort of the last lap and a half since I mentioned it earlier. That could certainly open up the door for him to make this work. He needs to be within 3 seconds of Bad MX to take the lead of the race. And Blackbone there with a very quite aggressive overtake on Juiced. Managed to get it working though. Basically in the same place we've seen most of the overtakes so far, either up at the hairpin, either down into someone here, or just before Water Champions. All for the absolute nutcases during the Water Champions, but that's a bit too brave for me. My personal sort of surprise, shocking overtake would have been the sort of the first corner into Sector 2. This one just here that we've seen one or two moves here already as well in this race, which honestly I thought people would, you know, steer clear of it, because it would just cause death onto most people. But most people, you know, we haven't had any major crashes or anything. I think the 3 drivers that have DNF'd have all DNF'd in the pit lane. One virtual safety car for I've literally got no reason. So overall, like, as far as crashing wise goes, it's been pretty clean. As far as penalty wise goes, maybe not, but you know, you gotta take these things on the chin. Mr. Cookie has gotten a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting, which pretty much decides the race win. Now on lap 34 of 35. We have but a lap and a half of racing remaining, and I highly doubt Mr. Cookie is going to be able to gain the 3 seconds required and the overtake on Bad MX to now get the race win. Mr. Cookie pushing that little bit too much, and it has cost him another race win for his book. The Cookie has well and truly crumbled this time around, and in fact it is going to be a pretty rough day at the office for the RB car. Bad MX has done very good to keep him at bay since he managed to get past that one mistake from Mr. Cookie, that drive-through penalty, speeding under virtual safety car, because he was diving into the pit lane. He thought he'd gotten away with it, but he hadn't, and it has cost him a lot to be a naughty boy. And there we go, he's now sub within the time anyway, so he could have just kept it on track, but there we go. He would have been just fine if that was the case. We're on the final lap now. Well, not for these guys, but for the fellas at the front, we are indeed on the final lap. Bad MX up here has driven spectacularly, obviously picked up a sizable quantity of penalties, but then again, so has everybody else. He brings it through nice and comfortably. I don't think in the recent little while he has picked up too many penalties. But honestly, can I say it's been a pretty spectacular race from anybody? No, I cannot. I can't really give praise to anybody because everybody has got a penalty. If I'm going to give praise to anybody, I'm going to give praise to Blackbone for keeping it within 3 seconds. That is the sort of penalties we really kind of strive to hope to see. Not really 12 seconds, but the most degree's got it, so I'm going to kind of take it on the chin. Nevertheless, it is Bad MX who comes through to win here in Canada, and he does so in a rather calm and controlled manner, as opposed to Mr. Cookie, who tried to murder his vehicle. Orion through next, and Cadet will come through after that. And this is where penalties start shaking people up. No moves up at the top, but there's 3 drivers all within quite close proximity of one another, and I can see one of them doing rather better than everybody else. Blackbone, he's going to make a significant bolster in his positions because he'll take both of these people who go to the line, and it's only just Jens Jordan who takes the place. I did not expect it to get that close whatsoever. Juice misses out on P6 by just over half a tenth of a second. 0.05 7 seconds split the two of them. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That was the race. So there we have it. The Haas driver wins here in Canada, making... Is he the first Mexican winner? Oh, he would be, I think. Unless I'm being an absolute idiot and I can't think of somebody else. But nevertheless, congratulations to the Haas team for winning here today. It was certainly an interesting race. I can tell you that for free. I don't like the fact that I can't see like the standings anymore. So I think the dislike towards EA is very prominent in the chat. So I think we're gonna avoid interviews just on the basis of I think we all understand the general consensus and the need to repeat it on multiple occasions, probably not the best of calls. So with that, I'd like to all thank you very much for watching. You're right, Blackbone. I have been the Characteristics. Thank you and good night.